Hi, it's Addie Kelzer with Urban Fitness Twin Cities, and today I want to do a follow-along video for some neck and arm, wrist, hand stretching exercises. So I'd love if you did these along with me. You can be seated or standing for these. My only ask is that if you're watching this video that you do them along with me. So first, to get started is we're just going to mobilize through the neck. So I want you to sit nice and tall, abs pulling in just to support your spine. And I'm going to have you lengthen through the back of the neck in order to allow that chin to fall down. Don't feel like you have to go super fast at these. We're just going to mobilize the spine up and down in the neck vertebrae. And especially if you've been sitting at a computer all day, don't do any crazy fast movements. Just do what feels good for your body today and stay in a pain-free range of motion. So once we've gone up and down a few times, I want you to look over each shoulder a few times. Again, staying in that pain-free range of motion. And once we get into our regular stretches, we will hold in each stretch for about 30 seconds for each of them before moving on to the next one. All right, so for your first stretch, I'm going to have you let your one ear fall down toward the same shoulder, and we're creating a lot of length through the opposite side of your neck. And if you need a little bit more stretching here, you're just going to grab from that same side with your arm on top of your head and gently pull down on the top of the head to create a little bit more length here. If you need more stretch, I want you to just lift this arm out away from your body a little bit, and that's really going to intensify this stretch. So once we've done this for 30 seconds, and you've already been in this for 30 seconds, I'm going to have you bring your chin down toward that same hip, and now we're gently pulling from the back of the top of the head, and this is going to transfer that stretch from the side of the neck to now wrapping around a little bit into the back of the neck as well as the side of the neck. I want you to make sure you're not collapsing your whole body here, but that your vertebrae are nice and tall up to your neck, and it's just the neck that's allowing to fall forward. Go ahead and elongate back up to center. We'll go to the other side. So allowing that ear to fall down toward the shoulder, gently pulling with that same arm from the top of your head. Even just the weight of wrapping your fingers around the top of your head can create a stretch there, and then intensifying it if you need to. For me, this feels pretty intense already, so I'm going to leave that arm on my lap rather than out to the side. Don't forget to breathe while you're stretching. Give those muscles lots of air to work with. And now we'll let that chin fall down toward that hip, and we're wrapping around to the back of the top of the head in order to just give that same gentle pull here. If you are prone to arching in your low back, just do a double check to make sure that your vertebrae are stacking nice and tall and we're not extending in that low back, letting that belly fall forward toward your desk. Good. Go ahead and gently come out of it. Next thing I'm going to have you do is you're going to lace your fingers together, and we're going to push your palms away from you. If you cannot lace your fingers like this, go ahead and just grab a towel. Is appropriate to be holding on to, or really whatever you've got that's handy that you can hold in both hands. And we're going to take those arms up overhead. So if you're in a laced position, you're going to reach those palms up toward the ceiling. And we're still thinking about being really tall through the vertebrae, but not so much that we're extending through that low or mid back and allowing the ribs to pop out in front of you. We still want to keep that belly button pulled in to create length up and support inward so that the spine is elongated. And this is a nice stretch for everything from your fingers all the way down into your lats, reaching up. And then without pushing your rib out to one side in order to create this lateral motion, I'm going to have you create length in this arm, let's say your left arm, in order to tip to the right side, so we can still create lots of length in the spine even as we tip to the side. And let's go ahead and come back up to center. We're going to create length now through the right side of the body, and especially through that right arm, in order to reach and stretch through the right side. Same thing here. If that belly button has loosened and your abs are not pulling in to support you, go ahead and pull that back in here. Good. Go ahead and gently come back up to center. Because of a lot of us are at our computer for much of the day, whether it's stay at home or not, we're going to do some finger and wrist stretches. So let's go ahead and start on the left hand. I'm going to have you very gently reach your fingertips downward, arm is extended, and you're going to, again, very gently on this stretch in particular, pull back lightly right around your knuckles area, and we're going to just create a little bit of stretch in the back of the wrist here. And we just want to make sure that we don't pull too hard on this one in particular to make sure that we are avoiding injury in that wrist. Next, I'm going to have you tip it in the other direction, so fingertips are up, and you're going to grab all 5 fingers at once with the other hand, and same thing, gently, although not quite as imperative in this direction, pulling all of the fingers back in order to create a stretch across the wrist and into the forearm. Now, one at a time, I'm going to have you reach and grab a finger. So I'm going to just stretch in the pinky, which is going to probably create for you a little bit of stretch in a very specific area here. And I want you also, as you do each of these finger stretches, to just make sure that that elbow is straight, it's not bent, but also it's not hyperextended. So we're not going past that straight position into a hyperextension, but we're holding it straight. Go ahead and move to the ring finger, gently pulling that finger backward. And onto the middle finger, giving those muscles lots of air to work with so that they can stretch. And the ring finger. If you feel like these muscles or any other muscles that you're trying to stretch don't stretch well, the first thing I always have clients look at is their hydration. Muscles really need hydration in order to stretch properly. And then lastly, I'm going to have you pull that thumb back. So we can check in on a couple of other pieces here that we've already mentioned. Long through the spine, abs pulling into support, elbow in a straight position. Good. Go ahead and relax that arm. We'll go to the other side. We're going to start with the fingertips falling down. And this is the one where we want to be very gentle, pulling that wrist back. So most of these stretches, the finger stretches, we're holding for a little bit less than 30 seconds each. But most of these we're holding for 30 seconds at least, because it takes about that much time for any muscle to maintain its flexibility when we stretch. If you really feel like you want to make gains in flexibility in any muscle group in particular, go ahead and reach and gently pull with those fingertips up toward the ceiling. Then you're going to want to hold stretches for more than 30 seconds. So 60 seconds to even up to 5 minutes on certain stretches might be appropriate in order to really gain flexibility. Let's go ahead and go out to the pinky, paying attention to that elbow being straight as we gently pull it back. And let's just focus on your breath on these last couple. Moving to the ring finger. Maybe you want to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Middle finger. And checking in with some of those fundamentals. Am I still sitting tall in my chair? Belly button drawing in. Shoulder relaxed away from the ear. That's something I have not mentioned, but as long as your arm is out here this long, it's easy to let it creep up. And then is your elbow elongated and straight? Let's go to that pointer finger. Giving yourself lots of air as we move into our last one, which is that thumb stretch, gently pulling back. So if you enjoyed this little stretch break from your regular work or whatever it is that has life being crazy right now routine, I encourage you to pin it and bookmark it so that you can come back to it, because we actually spent 10 minutes doing this stretch routine together. And I'm hoping that you will are encouraged to incorporate more stretching into your daily life, even if you are simply sitting in the chair, stretching your arms, your wrists, and your neck. All right, so as with all exercise, but especially stretching, I want to remind you that getting some done is better than none.